Demo Day, Mark.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Amy. It's
You're
nice to meet
welcome.
everyone. I'm Mark Polino with eOne. And at eOne, we really are interested in your data, how you use your data, and helping you get the most out of your GP data as well as all of your other systems. So, what we find is that as an ERP system, GP ends up as the center of much of your data. And in many cases, there's data you're trying to get into GP or out of GP into lots of other systems like CRM, um, travel and expense systems, payroll, e-commerce, reporting, you name it. And eOne is really the hub for all of that. And we think about this for GP, we actually have a lot of tools as well. So we have data integration with eConnect, Extender, and Node Builder data with our SmartConnect product. We can do virtual integration, which we'll talk about a little later with PopDoc. We can do file integration plus Excel add-ins. So if you want to be able to integrate data from it directly from Excel, we can handle that. We can handle embedded reporting. And then we'll talk a little bit about archiving GP history to data lakes. So if at some point you're ready to move off of GP onto something else, we've got a way to help you take all of that GP data with you as well. So let's go just a little deeper here. We like to think about this in two ways: move the data and share the data. So with move the data, we're really talking about SmartConnect. That's a product we've had for almost 25 years now. This is great for moving data between systems. So if you need to bring payroll data into GP, if you need to um, bring e-commerce data into GP. All of those are great examples. We want to pick up data. We want to move that data into GP. We need to integrate it with our general ledger, report off of it, do all the things that you need to do in an ERP system. That is a perfect example of move the data. The challenges with move the data are that sometimes you don't actually need to move that data. And a great example is we look at CRM systems. In many cases, our users are in a CRM system and they need some bit of ERP data. And for a long time, the only option was just to pick it up and move it. And I don't know about you, but we see a lot of really cluttered CRM systems. A lot of extra fields, a lot of fields that are barely used or used to be used and aren't anymore, but no one wants to get rid of them. And yet you still need some pieces of data in there. So an example might be, I need to know if my customer is on hold, so that I know whether or not I can even sell to them. But that data lives inside GP. Well, with our share the data option with PopDoc, we can show you that data inside your CRM system and without actually moving that data. This could be other things. Maybe you want to see invoices. You want to see whether customers have made payments. And we're not restricted to just CRM. There may be all kinds of other systems that you need to extend your GP data into. Maybe if you're looking at support data, you want to know, did the customer pay their bill? Are they eligible for support? That data may live in GP. We can make it available in Zendesk or other support systems. So that's our basic premise here. We talk about moving the data and sharing the data. And much of this can be done in just a few clicks. So let's take a look at some of these pieces. Um, so for classic Smart Connect, really, we have this now as an option for GP. We're still on premise because we use eConnect, but for lots of other systems that we connect to, we also have a cloud option. And with Smart Connect, essentially what's going to happen is you're simply going to define your two connections. So if I need to bring data into Dynamics GP from another system, we'll pick that other system, we'll pick GP, set up the connections between the two. We support literally thousands of connections. We have dedicated connections to a lot of systems, but we also support full REST APIs as well as all kinds of SQL connectors, not just Microsoft SQL. Between REST and SQL, we can connect to thousands of systems. The vast majority of systems across the internet now, especially the ones that you would try to get data out of, support REST APIs. So lots of options to get at that data. From there, you're really defining your data source. And when you do that, you're saying what type of integration do you want this to be? So we can support integrations from files, from systems like Excel. We can support queries from other systems. So a bulk integration, connect into SQL Server, connect into your CRM system, connect into payroll, and bring in large amounts of data. We can support change data, and then we can support real-time data. So the minute something changes in one system, it gets passed to GP, or the minute something changes in GP, it gets passed to another system. So then once you get to a point where you've got your two sides, you're really just going to map what those look like. So let's see if we have um, oh, based on time, we're just going to keep going. So essentially, you're going to say, this is the record in one system. I have name in one system, and I want it to go to name in the other system. Really straightforward, simple, easy to do. Again, we have been the premier integration system in the GP space for almost 25 years. So if you are looking to move data, SmartConnect is going to be the default choice of many, if not most, of the partners out there. Lots and lots of partners are able to support SmartConnect. But if for some reason you want to use SmartConnect and your partner doesn't support it, we do also have a full services team that can help. And if you're trying to do something exotic, that team can also help as well. But moving the data is pretty straightforward. Most people understand this. They have a basic understanding of what we're talking about when we say we're integrating data between two systems. But when we talk about share the data, that's where it starts to get really interesting. So with share the data, we're really looking at PopDoc. And this is PopDoc. It is a web-based tool. It's really designed around ad hoc user reporting. We're not trying to be the next Power BI. We're not trying to do executive dashboards. This is about the next evolution of Smart List. It's about getting data to people where they work. Again, if folks are in the web or if they're maybe you want to get them GP data without letting them into GP, this is a great option. We'll go a little deeper here in a second, but it all starts with lists. So a report, similar to what you see with the smart lists. We have the ability to do things like add all the additional columns, just like you would with a smart list. Just click and just being able to click on these items and add the selected column. But to go deeper than that, for any one of these items, you can also drill deeper. We're going to drill into distributions here and see the related distributions. Understand that item you saw at the bottom, that distribution piece, it is completely configurable. This could be any type of information you want to be able to drill back into. It could be more information about, in this case, the vendor. It could be attachments. It could be distributions. It could be any number of things that you want it to be. They are fully configurable. And then from a day-to-day working standpoint for these items, we have full filters. You're not limited to the four filters that are in Smart Lists. Lots and lots and lots of filters, as many as you want. You're able to save these as a favorite, similar to Smart Lists, but you can also make it available to other users or to teams of users. So a little simpler to use there. And then we have options to export to Excel. So just one click button and send that item to Excel. And we have the ability to work with one company, multiple companies, as many companies as you want um, from a reporting standpoint. And so the beauty is we're not limited to just GP with this. We can go into Business Central. We can go into D365 Finance. We can look at Microsoft CRM. We can leave the Microsoft ecosystem and we can look at um, Intact. We can look at NetSuite. We can look at Salesforce. We can dig into all kinds of various applications to be able to pull all of that data together in one place and give people the data they need where they work. As you can see, we can do charts, we can do lists. And the nice thing about this is you're not limited to just our web application as well. So let's say for a moment that we have some GP data and we really want to make that GP data available somewhere else. So maybe we work with Salesforce. We just want to get out of the Microsoft ecosystem for a minute and just show everybody how deep this can go. So in PopDoc, we have the ability to turn a list into a widget. And when you do that, you're really just making that data available as a simple link that could then be embedded in other systems, either with an iframe or some particular process supported by that system. So pretty straightforward here. I think we're going to just take a quick look at a Salesforce item down here. Let's do it this way. And so in this case, we have selected particular data. We're turning it into a widget. Really straightforward in terms of setting the connector and how it all gets set up. And what you ultimately end up with is an embed code. Now, we haven't embedded the token in this, but you ultimately end up with an embed code that then gets used in your particular system. We have a couple of different ways of embedding those items depending on what the system looks like. But the end result is with a couple of clicks, you've got a list and you've got an embedded item. In this case, this is Salesforce. So we were able to just simply add this to the page. What we're looking at is inside of Salesforce, we are looking at sales data from Dynamics GP. So we can see individual quotes, orders, and invoices. My salespeople can look at this, they can get access to Dynamics GP data, and they can do it without ever leaving Salesforce. They can keep working in the product that they know and love, and yet we're able to give them data from someplace else. This works really, really well for other things also. So, if at some point you are looking at maybe moving on from Dynamics GP and you're looking at moving to Business Central, you have a lot of data sitting in Dynamics GP that you may want for another day, for history reasons, for tax purposes, for any number of things. And you don't want to bring all that data into BC. It's hard, it's expensive. You have to deal with all of the challenges that you had with getting payments applied appropriately in the past, and any mistakes you made tend to come to haunt you as they move forward into another system. But there's a better way. And so the better way is to we have a tool as part of PopDoc. It is the PopDoc migration tool, and we can pick up your GP data. We stick it in an Azure data lake, so it's in your data lake. We don't want your data, so it sits in an Azure data lake, and then PopDoc sits on top of that data and makes that data available in whatever system you ultimately end up in. So as an example, this is Business Central. And here we have a multi-list widget in Business Central, and we're showing you data from CRM. We're also showing you data from Dynamics GP, as well as Dynamics GP stored in a data lake. At that point, your GP data is fixed, so it's historical. You're using it for reporting purposes. But we're able to see that data. And in addition, let's go here. We can grab things like your smart list. So if you've worked really hard crafting just the right smart list to get exactly the data you want, and you need to be able to get at that data after you've moved to something else down the road, then you have the ability to get at those items. We can bring over your smart list, we can bring over your data, we can make it all available. And in addition, we can mix and match. So if we look very quickly at a piece of data here, we can mix and match data from different pieces. So this is Aaron Fitz. This is going to be data for Aaron Fitz. It's going to update in just a second, and it's going to have data from Dynamics GP and from Business Central merged into a single window. And apparently it's going to decide to take just a second. Sometimes when you're working with Zoom, it decides to do that. All right. While that tries to finish, I'm going to wrap up here. Really, what we want you to understand is whatever you decide to do with Dynamics GP, if you want to keep it as the core of your business, Integration and virtual integration gives you the ability to take that GP data and push it farther and deeper and make it more important within your organization. If you decide it's time to move on from GP down the road, we have the ability to take that GP data and still make it available and make it a relevant part of your organization for a very long time. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.